So I learned a few coping skills. One was to work because I could be away from my house. So I had a paper route in Scarborough, Maine, pretty fucking cold in the winter, just so you know. But I didn't care because I was out of my house, and I worked from the age of 8 years old until, I'm, today. Going to school was another escape for me. Not that I did well in school because I was so distracted. And I had my first drink at 12 years old. I had 12 great years of sobriety. And then Eric Knott's parents went out of town when we were in elementary school, and I had a vodka orange juice, and I was able to forget. And I like to forget, And so I chased all three of those things out here to California. And so I came here to California and would achieve that success. I was one of the most active retail developers in the state of California, built 4 million square feet of shopping centers. Did about $1 billion worth of real estate deals in my career, but that wasn't the reality of my life, because by the age of 35, I was a full-blown alcoholic and drug addict. And that drink I had at 12 years old would manifest itself into a full-blown opioid addiction and alcoholism. And I couldn't go a day without taking something to change the way I felt. And they talk about alcoholics leading a double life. I've been leading a double life since I was 6 years old. What do I mean by that? I'd go to school, right, as a young kid, and I knew other kids weren't holding back tears. I knew they weren't covering up bruises. So I learned to lie about who I was. Not about what I did, but about who I was. And so I just lost touch with myself. And, so I would go on business trips, and I would go a day early and stay a day late. And, I was enthralled in the alcoholic and drug addicted life, and working during the day and doing drugs and drinking at night.
So how long you been sober now?
February 14th was 17 years.
Any wreckage?
Tons of wreckage.
Give it a
Yeah. So, for me, this concept of living a integrous life, was really difficult. So there's an adage that I had moral and philosophical convictions galore and could live up to them. I had a heavy dose of cognitive dissonance. If you don't know what cognitive dissonance is, it's rationalizing, justifying, and minimizing bad behavior. So I was a father that coached his kids in sports. I was a husband whose wife didn't work, who provided a great lifestyle for her. I was an employer that employed 35 full-time people that paid them well and gave them bonuses. I was also unfaithful to my wife. I also drove with my kids in my car loaded and caused a lot of chaos in my house. And was unreliable and unpredictable at work, but I didn't see that stuff. And so the wreckage was caused, wide swath.
You ever have any medical problems as a result?
No.
Ever been to jail?
No.
You got a high bottom.
I mean, you can say that, Rich, and people talk about high bottoms, but,
I'm not saying it's high for you. I'm saying it's very real for you. I'm not minimizing your thing. It's just, when you're in treatment and you see people come in on death's door, right? And it feels different to me. And by different, I mean, you're lucky. You're lucky. You're lucky it wasn't, how long were you loaded for?
I started drinking at the age of 12. I started heavy drinking by the age of 25 and was a full-blown alcoholic by the age of 35. And by the time I was 35, I was doctor shopping. I was mixing opioids and Adderall and alcohol. And I was a frustrated chemist, man. I just wanted to change the way I felt all the time.
Were you, do you have the DTs ever?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, then you're not that lucky. I apologize. Sorry. I was wrong.
Yeah.
He was right. I was wrong.
Yeah. At the end of the day, when I got sober, I had caused a lot of wreckage in my life and in the lives of other people. And I could pass a lot of tests. This is, I think, the thing that I think, when you look at people with quote unquote high bottoms that don't have a lot of the consequences, but still have a reason to get sober, I had to look at what those reasons were. And the reasons were, I could pass a lot of tests, bro. I could pass the bank account test, the family test, the toy test, the career test. You know what test I couldn't pass? You probably do.
The love myself test.
I couldn't pass the look in the mirror test, and at the end of the day, when you can't look yourself in the mirror because of who you say you are is completely out of alignment with what you're doing, and you despise yourself for the way you are behaving as an adult, It's an empty, empty feeling, bro.
So let's talk about the story of us meeting. And I want to hear it from you. And then I'm going to tell it because I want to see if it's the same.
Yeah. We met in a group therapy office. I was going to unpack what was, untreated childhood trauma. There was a group of people there that I didn't know. And there was one guy, there, who showed up every week, who from the first moment I walked in with 2 days sober, cared about me in a way and demonstrated that care for me in a way I'd not experienced. And you showed up every week on my journey, and we've been friends for 17 years, bro.
I want you to know, and I love you to death. I want you to know you came for a valid reason. I came because my wife asked me to. Right? And so I just did it. Right? And I did what she was told. But I didn't get anything out of that group. I did not like the people who were there. It was very remedial. I did what I could to be of service without looking like I was the know-it-all, right? But I felt like if I didn't show up every single week, you were going to die. I was so scared you were going to kill yourself. I was scared to death. And so I never missed a week, ever.
I know.
And that was an hour and a half in bumper to bumper traffic. And I never missed it.
Yeah, it's, they say it's when you're doing something unfamiliar, it's always worst first. The way I liken early sobriety and what you were sensing from me and why you were so concerned for me is because I'd never operated in this world without substances to cope with my feelings. And I was lost. I was empty. The things that I said I cared about the most had left me because of the behaviors that I engaged in. And it's a dark feeling. It's always worse first. It's like, I liken it to this. I imagine my life like, a junkyard, scrap metal yard where they have all those huge magnets that pull all the cars up. Like when I'm in active addiction, I'm walking through that scrap metal yard, like nothing can touch me. All the magnets got all the heavy shit above me. I'm cruising through. Nothing's wrong. One end of the scrap yard to the other. You get sober, somebody turns the magnets off. All that shit falls and it's straight and it's got sharp edges. And now you have to do so. I had to do something I'd never done before, which is deal with it all. Confront it all in an honest way. And that was unfamiliar to me, completely unfamiliar to me. So it's a really lonely place without someone like you.
We're out of time. Please subscribe on YouTube, click the thumbs up, and leave a comment. Please subscribe on Apple Podcast and Spotify and leave a rating and a review. And share the We're Out of Time podcast with others you know who will get value out of it. See you next Tuesday.